Hello! Today I'm going to tell you a story that could happen to any of us. How an ordinary day and an ordinary Facebook post can turn your entire life upside down. Imagine if what you see on your screen makes you question everything you knew about your family. Stay with us until the end, and don't forget to subscribe to the channel. What would you do if you were our heroine? Mary is a 55-year-old homemaker living in a small town in Ohio. Her life could be called perfect: a cozy house with a white picket fence, a loving husband, John, and 2 grown children who still live with them. Mary loved gardening and spent most of her time among her flowers. Her roses won local competitions, and neighbors often stopped by for advice. In the evening, she would cook dinner, and the whole family would gather around the table to discuss the day's events. "Mom, you're the best cook in the world," her son Alex would often say as he tasted her signature lasagna. And Mary's husband, John, worked as a mechanic in a local car repair shop. He was a kind and simple man who loved his children and always tried to support his wife. John, how are things at work?" Mary asked over dinner. It's the same as always. A couple of clients, a little oil on my hands, and lots of jokes with the guys," he replied with a smile. John was reliable, and Mary had always believed that their marriage was something strong and unshakable. Their children, Alex and Lisa, although they were adults, had not yet left their parents' home. Alex, a 27-year-old programmer, was working from home, and Lisa, a 24-year-old student, was completing her studies at a local college. "Lisa, when are you planning to move?" Mary asked jokingly. "Mom, let me find a job first, and then we'll talk about moving," Lisa replied, laughing. Together they seemed like the perfect family. Like many people her age, Mary loved to spend time on Facebook. She posted photos of her flowers, wrote about new recipes, and followed the lives of her friends. "Mom, are you posting your roses again?" Alex asked, looking at her phone. "Yes, and what's the big deal?" "Hello, my friends want to know how I take care of them," she answered proudly. For Mary, Facebook was a place where she could be part of a community without even leaving her home. One morning, as usual, Mary made herself a cup of coffee and sat down to browse her Facebook feed. A photo posted by a family friend, Kate, caught her eye. Her husband, John, was in the photo, but he was not alone. A woman she didn't know was sitting next to him. They were laughing, and their closeness seemed all too natural. Mary froze, holding the phone in her hands. Her heart sank and her thoughts began to jumble. What is this? Why didn't he say anything to me?" she whispered. At first Mary thought it must be a misunderstanding. Maybe it was just a coworker or an acquaintance. But why had he never mentioned her? She decided to look through Kate's profile and found several other photos of the same woman. They were taken at different times, and in each of them, John looked overly happy. "What is this?" Mary felt her anxiety turn into fear. Mary concentrated all day, her mind filled with suspicion. In the evening, when John came home, she wanted to ask him about the photo, but she didn't dare. Tomorrow, I'll ask him tomorrow, she decided. But deep down, Mary already knew that this photo would change their lives forever. That morning, Mary couldn't get the photo she saw on Facebook out of her mind. Something about it was not right. Her husband, John, was sitting in a restaurant with another woman, laughing, holding her hand. This can't be a coincidence, she thought as she looked at her phone. Mary felt that this photo was the key to something more, and she wouldn't stop until she knew the truth. Mary decided to find out more about the woman in the photo with John. She looked at the profile of Kate, a family friend who had posted the photo. Among the photos, she found several others in which the woman was with John. In one photo, they were standing next to a car that Mary didn't recognize, and in another, they were walking in a park. Who was she? Why hasn't John ever mentioned her? Mary asked herself, trying to stay calm. In the evening, when John came home from work, Mary decided to ask him directly. "John, have you seen the new photos that Kate posted?" she began, trying to sound calm. "No, what's in them?" He asked, sitting down on the couch looking tired. "You're in one of them. In a restaurant, with some woman," she said, watching his reaction. John froze for a second, but quickly composed himself. Oh, that must be from last week. We were at lunch with clients. It was nothing special, he said, not looking her in the eye. Mary noticed him nervously rearranging the remote on the table. John's words should have reassured her, but instead raised even more questions. If this was a lunch with clients, why didn't I know anything about it? She thought. Mary began to recall little things, how John had been working late lately, how he sometimes came home smelling a perfume that didn't belong to her. Maybe I'm just exaggerating, she tried to convince herself. But the photo remained in her mind like an obsessive image. The next day, Mary decided to find out more. She looked at Kate's profile again, hoping to find something that would clarify the situation. She noticed the caption under the photo, "A great day with John and his special friend." These words hit her like a thunderbolt. Special friend. What did that mean? Mary texted Katie, "Hi, Kate. Nice photos. Who is that woman next to John?" The answer came quickly. "That's Karen. She works with him. John never told you about her." Mary felt her heart clench. Looking further, Mary found another photo, this time of their son Alex. Alex was standing next to the same Karen, and the caption read, "Family ties are always stronger." Sarah did not understand what this meant. Alex had never mentioned Karen, but why was he in the photo with her? What's going on? Why isn't anyone talking? Mary asked herself. That evening Mary decided to talk to John again, but this time she was determined. "A John who is Karen?" she asked bluntly. John hesitated. "I told you, she's just a coworker." Why are you so hung up on this? Why is our son taking pictures with her too?" Mary continued. John raised his voice. "You're seeing things that aren't there. Why don't you stop digging around on Facebook and living in the past?" If these words hurt her, Mary realized that John was not going to answer honestly. Mary was left alone in the dark kitchen. Her anxiety turned to fear. She realized that the photo was just the tip of the iceberg. What is he hiding? And why are my children involved? She thought, looking at the phone screen. She knew she had to get to the bottom of this, even if it meant destroying her family. Mary couldn't take it anymore. The photos, John's responses, Kate's suspicious signature, and her son Alex's involvement were all haunting her. She was determined to find out the truth, even if it meant risking the destruction of her family. She woke up that morning with a determination she hadn't felt in years. Mary decided to start with her son. As she waited for Alex to come down to the kitchen for his morning coffee. "Alex, is there something you want to tell me?" she asked, trying to sound casual. Alex raised his eyebrows. "What is it, Mom?" Mary showed him the photo of him standing next to Karen. Who is this woman, and why were you taking a picture with her? Alex was confused, but quickly tried to find an excusing. "It's just a friend of John's. We met by chance." By chance. "And what does the caption mean? Family ties are always stronger," Mary insisted. Alex shrugged and said, "It's just a joke. Nothing serious." Mary could see that her son was hiding something. After talking to Alex, Mary turned to her daughter Lisa, who was sitting in the living room with her phone in her hand. "Lisa, do you know anything about Karen?" she asked. Lisa looked at her mother in surprise. "Karen? That's John's girlfriend, I think. Why do you ask?" "Because I see how everyone is so quiet about her. Are you sure you don't know anything?" Lisa thought for a second, then answered, "I saw them having coffee together in the city a few weeks ago. She looked nice, but it's none of my business, Mom." These words only added to Mary's anxiety. That evening, when John returned from work, Mary decided not to hide her suspicions any longer. "John, we need to talk," she said as he sat down to dinner. What is it about this time, Sarah?" he asked, looking tired. About Karen. Who is she to you?" Mary asked bluntly. John put down his fork and looked at her. "I told you before, she's just a work friend. You're starting to invent things that aren't there." "Then why is our son taking pictures with her? And why didn't you say anything about these meetings?" she insisted. John sighed and answered, "Because it doesn't matter. She was just helping me with a project." But Mary saw him avoid her gaze. Alex and Lisa, who were nearby, interjected. "Mom, why are you so hung up on this?" Alex asked. "Because I feel like you're all hiding something from me," Mary replied. Lisa tried to calm the situation. "Mom, Maybe you're just exaggerating. When my whole family is silent and acting as if I'm the one making things up," Mary exclaimed. Her words hung in the air. After the argument, Mary was left alone in the kitchen. She felt like her family was closing in on her. Her husband, her children, they all seemed like strangers. She looked at her phone and opened Facebook. She looked at Karen's photos again and thought, if they won't tell me the truth, I'll find it myself. Mary decided to write Karen directly. She typed a message. "Hi Karen, I'm John's wife. I'd like to talk to you." She hesitated for a few seconds, but it sent. Now let's see if she answers, Mary thought. Mary waited for a response from Karen, but time passed and nothing changed. At action, she began to feel that she was becoming a detective in her own home. The family she once thought was perfect now seemed like a stranger to her. She couldn't take it anymore. She needed the truth. But was she ready for the truth to destroy everything? The next morning, Mary's phone vibrated. It was a message from Karen. "Hi, Mary. I was wondering if you might write. I think we need to talk in person." Mary froze as she read these words. She didn't know how to react. Her first thought was, why does she want to talk in person? What does it mean? Karen suggested meeting at a local cafe that afternoon. Mary decided to tell John about it. "John, I've texted Karen and we're meeting today," she said over breakfast. John froze with a cup of coffee in his hands. "Why did you do that?" he asked, looking annoyed. Because you won't give me any answers," she replied firmly. "Mary, this is pathetic. You're making a big deal out of nothing," John said, getting up from the table. Alex and Lisa watched the scene in silence. Mary noticed that they were avoiding her gaze. Karen was already waiting in the cafe. She looked calm but a little tense. "Hi, Mary," she said as Mary sat down at the table. "Hi, and I hope you can help me understand what's going on," Mary replied, trying to be polite. Karen sighed and said, "Mary, I know you're worried, but honestly, there's nothing to worry about. I work with John, and we get along well. And then why do you spend so much time together outside of work? And why does Alex take pictures with you?" Mary asked. Karen was embarrassed. "It's hard to explain, but trust me, it's not what you think." Mary felt her patience running out. When she got home, Mary started looking for more evidence. She decided to check John's phone while he was asleep. She managed to find a message from Karen. "I told her it was just work. I hope she doesn't suspect anything." These words were like a knife to the heart. "They're all lying to me," she thought. The next day, Mary gathered everyone in the living room. "I need to talk to you," she said. And John, Alex, and Lisa looked tense. "I know you're all hiding something from me. I saw the message from Karen." "What does it mean?" she asked. John remained silent, but Alex tried to interject. "Mom, it's not what you think." "Then tell me the truth," Mary shouted. Lisa burst into tears and said, "Mom, we didn't mean to hurt you, but it's much more complicated than that." Mary realized that her trust in her family had been completely destroyed. She didn't know who to believe anymore. "If you can't tell me the truth, I don't see any point in our family," she said and went to her room. Mary was left alone, trying to collect her thoughts. She realized that this was just the beginning of a breakup that could be permanent. What else are they hiding? And will I ever be able to forgive them? She asked herself, looking out the window at the dark sky. The situation in Mary's house had reached a boiling point. Her suspicions could no longer be ignored, and the tension between her John and the children had become unbearable. Mary realized that if she didn't get some answers now, her family would completely fall apart. Mary decided to talk to Kate, the friend who had posted the photos. She invited her for coffee, hoping to get more information. Kate, I need you to be honest with me," Mary began. "Why did you post those pictures of John and Karen?" Kate looked at Mary in surprise. "Mary, I thought you knew. They've been spending time together for a long time." "No, and I didn't realize it could be a problem. Spend time together. What do you mean?" Mary asked, trying to control her emotions. "They often meet in the city, have lunch together. I thought it was part of the job," Kate replied. These words were another blow to Mary. When Mary returned home, she saw John sitting in the living room with Alex and Lisa. Her heart was beating faster, but she decided not to put off the conversation. "We have a serious problem, and we have to talk right now," she said, standing in front of them. John looked irritating. Mary, I'm tired of these accusations. What else do you want to hear? Or the truth? Who is Karen? And why are you all hiding her from me? Mary replied. John stood up from his chair, his voice rising. Mary, you don't trust me. Do you think I'm betraying you? And you're not. Then explain why I keep finding messages, photos, and hearing from people that you're spending time with her. Mary screamed. And Alex tried to intervening. Mom, calm down. It's not what you think. Then tell me what it is. If it's not what I think it is, she shouted. Lisa burst into tears and confessing, Mom, we knew about Karen. But we didn't want you to know because we were afraid it would destroy you. These words made Mary hold her breath. John finally broke down and said, Okay, I'll tell you. Karen is not just a coworker. Actually was a support to me at a time when you and I were estranged. But there was nothing serious between us. Nothing serious. What about your messages and your meetings? Do you think this is normal? Mary was desperate. John could not answer. Mary looked at the children. You knew and you didn't tell me. How could you? Alex answering, Mom, we just didn't know how to tell you. We thought it would go away. It would go away. Did you think I wouldn't notice my marriage was falling apart? Mary shouted. The family could no longer hide their secrets, but instead of finding a solution, it only deepened the rift between them. After the scandal, Mary locked herself in her room. She felt betrayed by everyone, her husband, her children, even herself for not noticing the obvious. In awe that she realized that she could no longer live in this house, where every corner reminded her of the lie. I have to leave. It's the only way to find peace, she told herself. Mary packed her things and decided to leave the next morning. But before she did, she left a note for John. I can't be a part of this deception anymore. When you learn to appreciate the truth, then we will talk. She closed the door behind her, feeling hurt but also relieved. Mary left the house in the morning, leaving behind everything that was important to her, but also everything that was the source of her pain. She could no longer live in a world where she was betrayed by those she trusted most. Her life now looked like shards of once beautiful glass, and now she had to decide how to start over. Mary moved to a small rented apartment on the other side of town. It was a small room with a narrow bed, an old chair, and a view of a noisy street. It's not what I imagined, she thought as she unpacked the boxes. But despite everything, it was her own space where she could collect her thoughts. The first days were the hardest. Mary would wake up in silence, without the usual noise of the children and the smell of the coffee John always made. She tried to find solace in her habits, browsing Facebook, writing to friends. But even social media seemed alien. Every post about happy families, birthdays, and trips together reminded her of what she no longer had. A few days later, Mary received a letter from John's lawyer. She opened the envelope with excitement. Mary, due to our separation, I have decided to transfer some of our assets to you. This includes your share of our home, but I need your signature on the documents. Mary felt bitter. A share. How can life be divided up like slices of pie? She thought. She decided to meet with a lawyer to discuss the situation. At the meeting, the lawyer said, John wants to do the right thing. He realizes that he has hurt you. Mary could hardly contain her laughter. He does, doesn't he? After everything he's done. It sounded ridiculous. But when the lawyer handed her the documents, she saw a familiar photo, their house, the one they had built and renovated together. Memories came flooding back, how they painted the walls, how they planted trees in the yard, how they celebrated their first Christmas there. It's not mine anymore, she whispered. One evening, Mary received a message from her daughter. Mom, can I come over to your house? Mary didn't know how to respond, but she did. Yes, come over. Lisa appeared on the doorstep with eyes red with tears. Mom, I'm so sorry. We had no right to keep quiet about all this. Mary hugged her, but her voice was firm. Lisa, you should have told me the truth. I would have understood, even if it would have been painful. I was just afraid that it would destroy our family, Lisa replied, wiping away her tears. A family is not destroyed by the truth, but by lies, said Mary. That night Mary sat by the window for a long time, looking out at the city lights. She thought about how she had lost everything: her home, her marriage, even her trust in her children. But at the same time, she felt relieved. Oh, maybe this is not the end, but the beginning, she thought. Mary decided it was time to start a new life. She applied for the job she had once left for her family and even thought about enrolling in a course. Before going to bed, Mary received a message from an unfamiliar number. "Mary, I know we haven't talked in years, but I'd like to see you. It's important." Mary shuddered. She recognized the number, but couldn't believe what he had written. What does he want now? She asked herself, looking at the phone screen. Mary sat in her small, rented apartment, holding her phone with a message from an old friend. He didn't know how to respond. Why did this person show up now, when her life was just starting to get back on track? This message was the final push to make her think about how her life had turned into chaos. Mary began to remember. A few months ago, her life seemed stable. She had a home, a husband, and children. Their dinners together, their weekend trips, their Christmas celebrations were perhaps not perfect, but they were warm. She remembered how John always brought her coffee in bed on her birthday, how Alex would tell her about his first successes at work, how Lisa would sit with her in the kitchen, talking about her dreams of becoming an artist. How did all that disappear? She thought, wringing her hands. Mary couldn't help but wonder how it all started, and the answer always came back to one thing: Facebook. A social network that had once been her way of staying connected to the world had become the source of her pain. It was because of a photo she saw there that her life began to fall apart. If I hadn't gone to the feed that morning, would everything have been different? She asked herself, but she knew that Facebook was not the problem. The social network only brought to light what was already hidden. Mary began to think about her role in what had happened. Was it my fault that John was looking for someone else? Was I too focused on the children, the garden, the little things? She asked herself. These thoughts hurt, but they also brought understanding. She knew that each party in their marriage had made mistakes. But can I forgive him? Can I forgive my children? And most importantly, can I forgive myself? She thought. After a few days of reflection, Mary realized that she couldn't live in the past. She decided to use her experience to help others. She sat down at her laptop and started writing. This is a story about how one photo changed my life. It's about how social media can reveal the truth we're afraid to see. Mary decided to write a book. She wanted to talk about her experiences, how she lost trust in the people closest to her, and how she was trying to rebuild herself. One evening, Lisa came to Mary again. Mom, I want to tell you something," she began, sitting down next to her. Yes, Lisa," Mary replied, trying to remain calm. I know that we all hurt you, but I want you to know that I love you very much, and I want us to be able to make things right," Lisa said, holding her hand. Mary smiled through her tears. "I want that too, Lisa, but it's going to take a long time to get it back." That night, Mary wrote in her diary, "Sometimes we have to lose everything to realize what really matters. Maybe my family is not lost yet, but I know one thing: I have to build my life on honesty now." Mary picked up her phone, looked at the message from an old friend. She typed a short replying, "Okay, let's get together." Her heart beat faster. What would this meeting bring to her life? Would it be another trial or a chance for a new beginning? Mary has always believed that life can be changed, even if it seems like all is lost. Now she was on the verge of a new chapter. After weeks of pain and doubt, she realized that she couldn't get her past back, but she could build her future. Now she just had to take the first step. Mary made an appointment to meet the man who had written to her. It was Michael, her old friend from high school, with whom they had long lost touch. They met in a cafe. Michael looked a little older than she remembered, but his warm smile remained unchanged. "Mary, it's good to see you," he said, hugging her. "You too, Michael. But tell me, why did you decide to write now?" she asked, sitting down at the table. Michael explained that he had accidentally seen her Facebook profile and read her posts about the difficulties she was facing. I thought you might need support, and to be honest, I wanted to find an old friend too, he said. This meeting reminded Mary that even in the darkest of times, there can be people who are willing to help. After meeting Michael, Mary started thinking about how she could use her experience. She decided to return to her old dream of creating a space for women in difficult life situations. I want others to have the opportunity to start from scratch, she told Michael during one of their meetings. He supported her and even offered to help with the organization. Mary started looking for a place for her project. She found a small space in the city center that was perfect for her idea. She started organizing meetings where women could share their stories, get support, and meet people who helped them change their lives. This project became a source of inspiration for Mary. One evening, Lisa came to see Mary again. Mom, I saw that you started something new. It's great, she said. Yes, Lisa, I realized that I can help others and heal my wounds at the same time, Mary replied. I want to help you. Can I be a part of this? Lisa asked. Mary smiling, of course, my daughter. I want us to build this together. A few weeks later, Mary received a message from John. Mary, I heard about your project. You're doing a great job. I want to meet and talk. Mary thought long and hard about whether to accept the meeting. She wasn't ready for reconciliation yet, but she realized that it could be a step toward closing old wounds. Maybe this conversation is not only for him, but for me as well, she said to herself. Mary's project began to gain momentum. She wrote articles, appeared on local radio, and even started working on a book sharing her experiences. Her life gained a meaning that had been missing before. A past pain does not define us. It only shows how strong we are, she wrote in her diary. One evening, Mary received a letter from a publisher who was interested in her book. Mary, your story has great potential. Let's talk about publishing. These words were confirmation that she was on the right track. This is just the beginning, she thought as she closed her laptop. Mary sat at her desk, looking at the letter from the publisher. Her book could be a real inspiration to others, but she realized that the ending of her story had not yet been written. She would have to make difficult decisions and meet people who were part of her past. Life always leaves room for the unexpected, and Mary knew this well. Mary agreed to meet with John. They agreed on a neutral place, the same park where they used to go for walks with the whole family. When John arrived, he looked tired and a little confused. Hi, Mary, he said, sitting down next to her. Hi, John. Why did you want to talk? She asked, keeping her distance. John looked at her and saying, I wanted to apologize. I know I destroyed our marriage and hurt you. I thought I knew what was best, but I was wrong. Mary listened to him in silence. She felt that his words were sincere, but they could not change the past. John, I forgive you, but that doesn't mean we can go back to the way things were. I'm different now, and so are you, she said. He nodded, realizing that their story was over, but that there was still respect between them. After the meeting with John, Mary decided to talk to her son. She invited Alex to dinner and prepared his favorite dish. Alex, I want you to know that I love you, even after everything that's happened, she said, looking into his eyes. Mom, I know, and I'm sorry I didn't tell you the truth sooner. I just didn't want to get involved, he replied. Mary sighed. Life has taught me that silence sometimes hurts more than the truth. Remember that. The project Mary was working on began to attract attention. Women who came to her center found support and the opportunity to start a new life. One day, Mary received a letter from a woman named Mary. Your story helped me realize that I am not alone. Thanks to your center, I found a job and started to believe in myself again. Thank you. These words made Mary feel that her pain was not in vain. Mary completed her book. She called it The Power of Truth, How One Photo Changed My Life. Her publisher was delighted with the material and offered to organize a presentation. Your story should inspire many people, Mary, he said. Mary agreed, but realized that this book was not just about her. It is a story about everyone who has experienced betrayal, loss, and found the strength to move on. One evening, Mary received a call from Karen. "Hi, Mary. I know I'm the last person you want to hear from, but I want to meet you. Okay, I have something to say," she heard on the phone. Mary was silent for a long time, considering whether to agree. Finally, she said, "Okay, but I don't promise it will be easy." The meeting with Karen was a climax for Mary. Karen apologized for her role in destroying her marriage and admitted that she had also suffered losses because of the situation. "I never meant to hurt you, Mary. I regret everything that happened," she said. Mary felt she could forgive Karen. Not for her, but for herself. "I don't hold a grudge. But you and I are on different paths, and they should never cross again," she replied. When she got home, Mary looked out the window, holding the first copy of her book in her hands. "My life has changed forever, but now I know that even from ruins, you can build something new," she said aloud. Her phone vibrated. It was a message from the publisher. "Mary, your book has already been pre-ordered by hundreds of people. We are preparing for the presentation." Mary smiled. She realized that this was just the beginning of her new life.